Serpent Temple podcast and YouTube channel. I'm here with Mirai from Sigh. Thank you for joining us again.
Oh, you're very welcome. So it's always great to be in the UK. It's one of my favorite countries for sure.
Thank you. Why do you like it so much?
I don't know, because to me, heavy metal was born in the UK.
Hell yeah.
Venom is my, one of the biggest influences on me. So it's always great to come to the origin of heavy metal.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome. We're going to do a quick Psycard reading. So we're going to do the past, the present, and the future.
Yes.
So feel free to draw 3 cards from the deck in any way you like.
Okay. 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So let's start with the past.
Okay.
Feel free to turn this card over. The Tower. This is a good card. It's interesting. So I'll read it to you. A castle stands on a hillside without a moat or a visible door, proud, stern, and unyielding. The symbol represents achievement gained in the face of adversity and reflects sometimes the arrogant conscious mind repressing the unconscious mind beneath it. It can often presage the pride that goes before a fall, and it can also stand for male sexuality. So this is about the relationship between your inner world, your mind, what you don't express to the outside world and what you do put out. And then also sexual nature and what you choose to show people. So as a performer, that's a very interesting card to have.
Yeah, it is. But honestly, I myself even don't know how I am inside. I always try to express myself as naked, as straightforward as possible. But now I'm 54, but still, I don't think I know about myself very well. So it's still, the journey to find inner self. So I don't think it will end. Yeah. I think it's a very interesting theme.
It's really interesting, in your album Shiki, I was looking at translations of some of the album, the song titles, and there was some about eating, shoku, I believe was one of the words, and I thought that was really interesting. I was reading about how in Japanese culture, what you eat is really important, what you put inside your body, and how that relates to perhaps the death and the winter themes in the album, and perhaps this is an interesting thing that I thought of when you turned the card over, how that relates to what you were saying about you don't know what you have inside you, and maybe that's what you put inside you during the time of when you're making the album, for example, or how you're feeling at the time.
Oh yes, because I'm quite sure Shiki is one of the most straightforward, most the naked album that shows my inner feeling. I used to, because when I made the album Shiki, I was totally, afraid of death, because now I'm over 50s and I lost my father, and unfortunately some of my friends started dying. So, because when I was younger, I talked about death, but it was, some kind of fictional things like a horror movie. But now it is not anymore. Death is something you have to face any day.
Yeah.
So I was, totally afraid of death. So I wanted to express my, naked feeling of fear through the album. So yeah.
Did you find that your fear lessened after creating the album and performing it?
No, I don't think so. Not at all, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's one of those topics that I think in this genre is it's sung about a lot. It's in a lot of imagery, but it's very rare that people approach it from that serious, because it's still taboo, I think.
Yeah, still taboo. I think it's changing, because in the 80s and 90s, the scene was young and people were young. So, we all were talking about death, but we didn't understand. I still don't think I understand it, but when you were 20 or 30, well, you would die someday, but it's still fictional things.
Yeah.
But now, the extreme metal bands are getting older. We all are, approaching to our final time. So I think, many of us started, changing the approach to the topic of death, I guess. Yeah.
When you think of death, what do you see in your mind?
I don't know. It's very hard. It's hard to tell what it is like.
Yeah.
But definitely, it's really scary to, go into the void, because losing everything we created in his whole life. It's sad, and but I don't know.
I appreciate that. I think it's difficult to be that open about like why you're exploring that topic when it's from a serious perspective, especially in like when you're being you have like such vibrant performances as well. I think it's easy to misinterpret that perhaps. So I appreciate that. I commend that. I think that's a very bold thing to do.
Oh, glad to hear that.
Cool.
Yeah.
The present, shall we see? The liar.
Liar.
So this is a very common card that we get with performers because performing is a kind of lying, I suppose.
No, it is.
Yeah, let me read this for you. So the jester comes forward onto the stage, balancing on one foot. His expression can appear sly. A dropped purse lies at his feet while he holds aloft his replica and a mask. This card stands for deception and the possibility you are being deceived or deceiving yourself. It symbolizes falsity, disguise, cheating, malice, and those occasions where one has to wear a mask to the world for whatever reason.
Yeah, again, it's the same. It's really now I try to make a very honest music. So I always think, what is the most honest music to me?
Yeah.
Because I have some musical background because I started listening to heavy metal when I was a teenager, so I've been listening to it for well more than 30 years. But also I was taking a piano lesson for a long time when I was a kid. But at the same time, heavy metal or classical music is the Western culture.
Yes.
And I'm a Japanese, so sometimes playing the Western music as a Japanese may not be a very true thing. This could, kind of the lying. But at the same time, I am not sure if I should play the traditional Japanese music, which I am not familiar with very much. So, yeah, it is one of the biggest problems to me. What kind of music I should play at this stage, and what is the most sincere, authentic music to me. That is one of the things I've been asking myself for a long time.
I was reading some of your previous interviews, and I remember you mentioned with, I think, Angry Metal Guy, which is a fantastic interview, about how after the war in Japan, a lot of people adopted Western culture to sort of almost compensate for what happened, I suppose. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but some of the Japanese culture was lost, and I think now there is like almost it's coming back again. I hope, perhaps. You're better qualified to tell me. Or
I don't think it's coming back. When I was a little kid, there were a lot more Japanese cultures in our daily lives, but most of them are gone now. So it's strange. When I was a kid, the being Americanized seemed very cool to even the little kids. So the Japanese traditional music sounded very corny to me. So we prefer to listen to the rock music and from the West. That was a cool thing.
Yeah.
But now I started understanding how cool, how great the our own culture is. But most of them are unfortunately lost forever. So. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're connecting with that culture that's been lost?
I think so. I'm not conscious about it, but I grew up in Japan, speaking Japanese, eating Japanese food, living in the Japanese culture. So even if you are not aware of it, a lot of my background, is rooted in the Japanese culture, even without knowing it.
I wonder if you've listened to an artist called Osamu Kitajima.
Who?
Osamu Kitajima. I'm very bad at...
He
did
yes.
Benzaiten.
Yes, Benzaiten, yes.
I think that's like an album that I feel really well, like, showed the intersection of like traditional Japanese music and like something heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that you've...
Yeah, there are some artists who tried to mix the Japanese, traditional instruments and rock music in the 70s. So yeah, I'm exploring a lot of stuff from the 70s. Now we have the internet, so you can get any information from all over the world.
Absolutely.
But in the 70s, the things were different. So there was a room to misunderstand. And because of that, something new, something original was born. So that's why I love the music from the 60s and 70s.
Amazing. Yeah. So amazing, like also Japanese like 80s pop and things like that was really like unusual and unique because of that intersection of the two musics colliding in a way. I think as you say, it creates something
Yes.
new. So I also read that you have had like tabla and sitar lessons as well,
Yeah.
and that you incorporated some like Eastern stuff into the music of Psy. So will we hear like more traditional Japanese stuff perhaps in future, or you're still deciding?
Yes. Now I'm actually tabla and sitar. Of course it's from India, but I learned it through the Beatles and
Of
60s,
course.
70s. So it's Eastern, but at the same time the Western. But now I'm playing some Japanese flute, and I listen to a
Amazing.
lot of Japanese traditional music too. So I'm quite sure the new album will feature a lot more Japanese stuff.
And what theme have you found a theme you're exploring with that album yet, or?
Actually, not yet.
Okay.
I'm trying to write as much as possible, but I still cannot find the main theme. I need it when I make an album. So.
Is that one of the first steps where you're trying to find it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Should we see what lies in the future?
Sure.
The Warrior. Oh, that's a really cool one. Okay, so let me read you this one. Perhaps that's a new theme. So the Warrior. A warrior is seen in all his pride and full armor against the background of a medieval castle with sword drawn but at rest. This card stands for the hero who rescues his princess, the knight in shining armor of the fairy stories. He is an embodiment of the masculine virtue of strength and courage, but one aspect can be the reverse, as with the beauty, hence the reverse crosses. He can be vengeful, quarrelsome, aggressive, and the typical male. This is from the 70s, a typical male chauvinist pig. Yeah. What does that make you feel? You have two very masculine cards
Yeah.
opposite each other.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think I have that kind of attitude at all. So it's very hard to tell.
Perhaps it's not necessarily your attitude. I mean, your music is very powerful and aggressive, so perhaps it's
I
that.
think so, but I think it's kind of both sides. Some of them are very powerful, but at the same time, it has some very pessimistic side too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of well, yeah.
As well, like, I guess being so unique within your culture and within the world of music in general, like, I guess you have to be a warrior. Like, you've been making music for a long time,
Yeah.
which I feel is kind of like unusual for a lot of bands. And I don't know about what the music scene is like in Japan, but I don't know many bands who've been around that long in like that part of the world with this kind of music. So I guess you've built your tower like over the years, the many years
Yeah.
you've been doing it, and it takes a warrior to stick with something this long,
Right,
and
yeah.
to have the courage to change as well, and not just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, maybe that's true. And the warrior is has been one of the main themes for heavy metal. So yeah, maybe that's true. Yeah.
It's true. It's got the aesthetic down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that stands out to you? Yeah.
Well, yeah, those wires and tower, the mask things are, very, very interesting because that's one of the themes to me right now. So how I can be as honest as possible. That's one of the themes I'm seeking right now. So
I guess when you're writing, do you write to perform or do you write solely to express? Like, do you think of the performance when you're composing?
well, I don't know. I'm trying to express myself right now.
Yeah,
It
it's that
has been
moment.
changing over the years, but yeah.
So it's after you write, do you start thinking about how you'll present it on stage?
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's
Yes,
really
so the
interesting.
studio album comes first, then
Yes.
performance later. Just
Fascinating, because your performances are so dramatic as
Oh,
well.
is
So
it?
I guess it is similar to like wearing the masks and like, does that change your relationship with the song once you add the performance element into it afterwards?
Yeah, that's true. Because because after I play the song many times, I have some new ideas. Because I sometimes I think I could have been, do something, different after I did some performances.
Fascinating.
So, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mirai.
Oh, you're
I don't want
very
to take
welcome.
up too much of your
Oh,
time,
thank
but it's
you.
been a pleasure talking to you.
So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
the interview.
Thanks so much for watching.